welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma if you're new here, and I actually have a different last name. I don't know if you've noticed the channel name changed, but I am now Emma Marie Miller because I am married, and that is why you haven't seen hardly any videos from me at all. The last video I posted reading wise was my April TBR, and I actually recorded an entire May TBR jar video. I went to edit it, I edited half the video, and then I realized I couldn't find the last half of the video, which was in one clip. And then I realized I actually had never filmed it. I didn't press record, so I picked my entire TBR using my TBR jar and just hadn't recorded anything. And then the next months were just crazy with wedding stuff. I got married on July 11th, and so things have just been nuts. Now that the wedding is done and I'm back from my honeymoon, it's time to get consistent with reading videos again, and you will see a lot of wedding stuff coming your way. I'm going to be posting that after this video because I want the August TBR video. So all that to say, this is my TBR jar. These are a lot of the books that I want to read in here. I don't have every single book on my TBR in here just because I want to get to some of the books that are maybe more intimidating for me or that I wouldn't really reach for as often. And then this right here is my prompt jar. So I've got a bunch of little prompts, and then I'm going to pick 5 prompts, and they will lead me to pick 5 books from my TBR jar. And then I always give myself a free pick at the end. So that's if there's a new release, if I'm really wanting to read a book, that's what that's for. Or a reread, because I don't put any reread options in my TBR jar. So here's some of the books and things that I'm in the mood for. I've been loving like romances, especially summer ones. I love the summer vibes. There's nothing like reading a romance book that takes place in the summer that's totally a summer vibe book, sitting by the pool or by the beach. Like that is just, the vibes are just so good. So I'm very in the mood for that. I'm also in the mood for maybe like a thriller. I'm not in a fantasy mood at all. Typically I like more like emotional fantasy world building, even like thrillers. I like more of that in the fall. So I'm really just in the mood for something like light and fun. And I have read a few books that I haven't really updated you on. I haven't done any sort of wrap-ups at all. Unfortunately, I just have filmed them and never posted them. But I have DNF'd Throne of Glass. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. Hear me out. I read the first 2, and then I started reading the 3rd one, and there was a big gap between book 2 and 3. And I just tried reading it twice and then listening to the audiobook, and I realized I really just don't care. Like these books are so long, and there's so many like new characters introduced, and like I think that I could love the series, but I just don't, and I just don't care. And I think that I would probably be put in a slump if I was reading books that I don't care to read. So ACOTAR is in here because I want to give ACOTAR a chance. So I've got some books in here too. I also read Done and Dusted, which is the first book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and I read Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. Oh, it was so good. So I really want to read the last Magnolia Parks book because that's coming up soon too. But let's just get going. Let's pick our first prompt from the TBR jar. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a shake. The first prompt is start a new series. Okay, I have told myself that I'm not allowed to start a new series because I'm in the middle of way too many. So this prompt is allowing me to break my own rules, which I kind of love. Okay, let's just like look at all of the series that I have in here and then pick. Okay, I really am not in a fantasy mood whatsoever, but I do have some series on here that if I were to start a fantasy series, I would pick one of these. So I have Spark of the Everflame. I actually have the physical copies of Spark of the Everflame and Glow of the Everflame when they were indie published, and so this could be an option. I also have ACOTAR. This is the first book, Court of Thorns and Roses, and this is a series I really want to start soon, but I'm not necessarily super in the mood for that. And then another series is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This is the Twisted series, and I've had this on my TBR for a really long time, and I've heard mixed reviews about this series. So I'm not sure about it, but because I'm not really in a fantasy mood, I think that I will add Twisted Love to my TBR. And I think it's Enemies to Lovers. I don't know. I honestly go into my books pretty blind, but I think I'm gonna add Twisted Love to the TBR jar. So that's our first one. And now the second prompt. Okay. A book that you saw on the tables at Barnes and Noble the last time you were there. I have not been to Barnes in so long, since like before the wedding. So I couldn't even tell you what book. Like, I haven't been in so long. So I think I'm gonna put this prompt back just because I think I could pick the most TikTok famous book and just call it that, but I don't remember. So I'm gonna pick another one. Another one for prompt number 2 says, a literary fiction book. Okay, that's actually a genre I'm kind of in the mood for that I didn't mention earlier. I don't read too many literary fiction books, or just general fiction. It usually has some sort of like thriller, romance, or fantasy element to them. But I have been in kind of a Taylor Jenkins Reid mood, and I think I know the perfect book for this one. And that is Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read quite a few of her books, and there's only been like, I think one that's been like a really big miss for me, but a few of them have been 4.5 stars or 5 stars. And I just love her writing. Like, they're in the fiction category, but they always have like some sort of like subplot of romance, and they're just really good. And I love her writing, and I have no idea what this one is about, but I added it to my TBR jar years ago. So second prompt is Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. All right, on to prompt number 3. Reread a favorite book. This is literally perfect because I literally have this right next to me because I know which book I'm going to read, and it's Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I read this at the start of my kind of reading journey. I think I read this in the second year of my reading, and I just absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was tied for first place of my favorite book. And since I've been a reader for longer, and since I've kind of broadened my horizons, I have found new favorite books. But this is one that I just think about a lot, and I want to reread it to see if it's still one of my favorite books and if it's still even a 5 star. And I just love the summer vibes in this book, like the beach and friends and everything. And I saw it at a thrift store and I bought it, and it's pretty much brand new. So I've been really wanting to read this in the summer because it's the perfect time. And that was just the perfect prompt for this, because if I didn't get that in any of the prompts, I would have picked this as my free choice. So I'm really excited about that. This is like kind of more of like her YA sort of books, but it's not put in the YA category, but it's really good. I'm so excited to reread this book. If you haven't read it, definitely read it in the summertime because the vibes are just there. Okay, now on to prompt number 4. We're getting close to the end. Usually it takes forever to decide, but I'm doing really good this time. All right, prompt number 5 says, a fantasy book. Okay, I'm not in the mood for that, but we gotta listen to the TBR jar. And I'm kind of in the middle of some series right now. I could read Two Twisted Crowns, which is part of a duology, and it's the second book. But I feel like that's just like the perfect October book. Like, it's kind of like a more darker fantasy, and I feel like that's more October. All right, there's The Cruel Prince. I could start a new series, but I'm kind of banning myself from doing that. Fourth Wing I want to save for the fall. Heartless Hunter I want to save for the fall or winter. Or the Crimson Moth series, whatever it's called, Where You Live. I could read The Ashes and the Starcursed King. This is the second book in the Crowns of Nyaxia like series duology thing. I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night and I liked it. However, I'm not sure that I'm really interested in continuing the series too much. I kind of forgot what happened in that book and I don't really think about it often. This is too hard. when I'm not in the mood to read a fantasy book. I could start Light Lark. My sister's been begging me to start Fourth Wing though. That's just, I can't do that in this time of year. I just can't. Maybe we go with like a shorter one. There is Half a Soul, which I don't know if that's a series or a standalone. Maybe I should read The Cruel Prince. I think that this is kind of a shorter fantasy book, and my sister read it and she loves it, and she said that I have to read it. And I don't know, to me it kind of gives like spring and summer compared to all the other ones. I could be completely wrong, but maybe we'll put The Cruel Prince on it. I am not guaranteeing that I will read this book, but it could be one of them. Maybe towards the end of August, I'm really in the mood to read a fantasy book and I have one on my TBR. But all right, prompt number 5. This is the last one before my free pick. Cannot grip it. Okay. This is the same Barnes & Noble one, so I'm leaving that out. Okay, let's pick. A book with an orange cover. All right, so this could be kind of hard because sometimes orange and gold look very similar. So right away I see Alex Approximately, and I don't know if this is giving more gold or orange, but this is a very summery book, so that could be a good option. I'm also seeing When in Rome. This is by Sarah Adams. It's also orange cover. And then we have My Life with the Walter Boys. This is actually a book that I own the physical copy of, but in Spanish. I bought it in Spain because I want to stay good at speaking Spanish, and I think that it would be really good for me to read a book in Spanish. And I've had this for like 2 years now and have not read it. And it is on the 12 books that I want to read in 2025 list. So I really think that I should read this one. But let's look at the other options as well. A lot of them have orange on them, but they're not like fully orange covers. I think that we got the bulk of them. Okay, so of these 3 books, I think I'm gonna take When in Rome out. I'm just not in the mood like for a rom-com really. So we could go with one of these 2 YA options, Alex Approximately, which is like a YA summary romance, or we could go with My Life with the Walter Boys, which is also, I think, a summary romance, and I own the physical copy and it's on my list of books to read. So I think that's just saying that I need to read this book. I've been avoiding it because it takes me so long to read in Spanish, but I think it'll be really good for me and I just need to read it. So I'm gonna choose this one. Okay, and now I'm done picking my prompts. So now it's time for my free pick. And I know exactly what book I'm gonna choose. And my free pick choice is Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I have been slowly going through the series because I had the realization that I'll never be able to read these books for the first time again, and that made me really sad. And I just don't want to be over this universe, and it makes me sad to think that I'll never be able to read these again for the first time. Even though I can always reread them, they're just like, there's something about them that are just life-changing for me, especially Magnolia Park's books. The second one of her books, The Long Way Home, I think is probably my favorite book. And I know if I don't pick this up, I will be sitting forever without reading it, just because I don't want her books to be over, because this is the last of the Magnolia books, and Jessa Hastings is still not onto writing the last Daisy Hates book, but I'm just not ready for the Magnolia Park's books to be over. But I know that I will love this, and I'm so excited to read it. After finishing Daisy Hates the Great Undoing just like a little bit ago, I want all the details of this book to stay fresh in my mind. So we are gonna put this one on the TBR, and she's a chunky one. She's big. I think she's like 700 pages. Yeah, 710 pages. So this is a really big book. And My Life with the Walter Boys is also a big book, at least the Spanish one. But I just wanted to add it to the TBR, even if I don't read it this month. I already love this book and I haven't even read it. But yeah, let's just do a recap of all of the books on my TBR. So we've got Magnolia Park's Into the Dark as my free pick. We have my reread, which is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. We have The Cruel Prince. This is by Holly Black. We have Twisted Love by Anna Huang. We have Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And then we have My Life with the Walter Boys, and this is by Ali Novak. So we've got a good mix here. We've got like a women's fiction, literary fiction. We've got a YA fantasy. We've got a YA romance. We've got regular romance. We have Magnolia Parks, which is like its own genre. Like this is like a very character study romance book. It doesn't really follow like a plot line, but love it. And then we have a YA-ish romance, I guess, by Colleen Hoover. So those are all the books on my August TBR. I really hope that I can get a lot more reading done now that wedding things are over and I can dedicate more time to reading and making book videos. But I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe and follow me on all of my social media platforms, and it's going to be Emma Marie Miller from now on, and I have all of my socials down below. Let me know one of the books that's on your August TBR, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.